Good morning, everybody. As you can see, this is Britball with the Breens, week 9. I think this is actually. I think I put week 8 in the title, and it's come from our first morning show. Due to lovely Queenie giving us a day off, me and Chris have decided that we're going to do a morning show. And as you can see, Chris is in the car. Chris, would you like to explain why you're in the car?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to hop off for my physio appointment at 12. But I thought I'd come on, do a little bit of it, especially given our guest this week. Deserved my attention. So, yeah, I thought I'd come down, park up, wait outside, and join in before I go in and get terrorized by the physios about my knee.
Yeah, you should be here for a while, folks. But what we'll do is, just in case there's any feedback, Chris will mute his mic every time he's not talking. So again, we had a really good week of fixtures last week. Some really good games. We haven't had many highlights this week, unfortunately, but we have managed to pick some decent players of the week, nominations. But just because there wasn't as many games last week, I think there was like 7 less games last week. This week, unfortunately, we've got one postponement, we've got one scumbag, we've got a couple with no refs. So hopefully they all go ahead and they don't impact too much. So we do have a guest this week. Our guest is Chris Warren, the general manager of Oxford Saints. Obviously we've had Chris on before, so we'll get him in and see how his season's going so far. Good morning,
Hey,
Chris. How are you?
I'm doing fine, guys. How are you doing?
I can't really complain too much. Getting an extra day off holidays a year is always a good one, no matter when it comes. So it's pretty decent going. And as I say, we've got some stuff done this morning, and then weekends mine for my missus' birthday. So I'll keep myself in the good books. Let's say. So how's things going? We obviously seen the last this season has kind of gone really well for yourselves so far.
Yeah, it has. I think that, I mean, no one really knew how things were going to run out of last season. I don't think any team knew that. Um, and our fixture list has been quite kind to us in terms of giving us Portsmouth and South Wales twice. But yeah, the team have come out really strong. We didn't necessarily have the greatest pre-season ever, not quite as bad as some other guys, but I mean, it still wasn't great. But we have picked up a couple of supreme ballers, as no doubt people are seeing on our highlights. And I mean, it's again game of inches in one game. What, 9 drop passes and 9 dropped interceptions or something, and we beat Wales, and we're like 3-1. And if it rains in a certain part of the country and people can't play golf, then we're 4-0. So it's there's more to that story than it gives on words, but I thought I'd get it out there and just be
Yeah.
done with it. So yeah, it is actually going really well, and it does give us hope for the future. And I think that if nothing else, the game against the Cheetahs last week, I think that you can look at our division quite honestly at the beginning of the season and thought it's a conference of two halves. You've got the 3 big guys at the top, you've got us, South Wales and Portsmouth at the bottom. And I think last week we proved we're well and truly up there with the rest of them. And if we can just
Yeah.
move forward, we'll be there.
In all seriousness, I think your whole division, potentially other than Portsmouth, who have still put like competitive games together, but the whole division has been like good. It's like obviously South Wales ran Hertz close as well at home, and the whole division seems to be competitive this season,
I think
which is great.
if Wales get momentum, they're really bloody dangerous. And I think it didn't take long for them to realise that our offence we're going to struggle that day. And don't get me wrong, they're a really class outfit. They're different to what they have been in the past in that regards. But they are brutal with you as well on the field, as you would hope a football team to be. So no one should underestimate them in any stretch of the imagination.
They are. They should like. I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing that they should have the luck of the fact they don't really have much competition for like players and stuff in South Wales. Like they should have that area kind of to themselves. I'm sure a few folk will travel across, but you'd think that
Yeah,
that would allow them that.
I think they're probably limited to the east of them because the Bristol Academy will suck up pretty much everybody from there. But yeah, the entirety of Wales, probably South Wales, that is, can get to them quite easily.
Yeah, and I think from our point of view, obviously from watching from the outside, the thing that's been obvious is you guys are putting up way more points than you did last year. I'm guessing some of that's to do with your wee rookie running back, wide receiver, returner guy, because I've seen again on the highlights this week that he managed to score another big touchdown. But is anything really changed? Have you managed to recruit more players, or is it just the same team that have just adjusted to the season?
We have recruited more players. We've got a little bit more depth. There's still some areas that are hurting that we could really do with better recruitment at, and that's something we're going to need to focus on next year, like O-line, like everybody struggles with that. But I mean, the defense are playing absolute lights out. And I think it's easy to look at the highlights and just focus on the returns and what Tom is doing over the middle. But honestly, I think that if you looked at it last week, it's Hearts, of the 28 points they scored against us, 21 of them were actually their defense scoring against us, because and we've got 3 safeties in 3 straight games with the defense where they really are destroying it this year.
Yeah, and that's one thing that very few people seem to put up highlights of their defense. Like, obviously we get certain teams that put up highlights of everything every week, and it's great. And as I said, this week's been a bit shy of highlights, but the defense playing well obviously then helps your offense stay off the field longer, fresh for when they go on, and it gives them an opportunity to kind of just really go through and push on when they're on the field. So, but that's great to hear. It's I say it's been a very good division, that one, to watch, and I think you I don't know how you thought about it, but I think everybody thought that Hertz would probably beat Oxford pretty comfortable. The weekend, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and to be frank, we didn't know how we were going to recover from what. I mean, it was a disruptive situation that we went through, but the boys all came together and really did step up. And like I said, I think the same to you off air. It became very apparent very quickly that game was winnable, and we threw everything at it. And I mean, Hearts DB core are ridiculously good, and they proved it. But yeah, any other game we would have walked away with it, which is really surprising. So our guys really are stepping up.
Yeah, and we'll see an example of that this week. It would be rude if it didn't put. Yeah, it would be, Craig. Definitely would. Chris, have you got any questions for Chris before I move on to this games play of the week?
No, as you kind of covered it there. I was just trying to keep my mic muted as much as possible. But no, you've probably seen I was nodding in agreement. I think tend to agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's a really good division, and I think what we're seeing is a lot of good results as well. And yeah, I guess the only thing is, we asked about, what's kind of changed this year as well. But one thing we spoke about last year was the red zone turnovers. So seem to have turned those into points rather than turnovers this year, which is always good to see as well. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see sort of Saints sort of building back up as well. Because contrary to popular belief, we do love the Oxford Saints. We're both fans of the organisation as well.
Well, if you came and played for us, Chris, you wouldn't be at a physio.
I'm retired now, I'm afraid. That's me. I think I was quoted saying I would play until my knee exploded, and my knee exploded. So it's me. I'm just coaching now.
Yeah. So I had one of the Cheetahs defense say to me in the bar after the game last night, he loves to come and play at Tilsey Park because it puts an extra couple of seconds onto his 4G time, because he just like bounce on the 4G. It's fantastic. Annoyingly, he's got 2 of the pick sixes against us, so I'm hoping it doesn't go that well.
I think I was laughing at Craig actually, because he posted up a video and their field is beautifully marked. But he posted up something about it being the best field, and I commented that they were playing on a sand trap, because every time you seen somebody take a step, you just seen a puff of the dust come up from the ground because it was so dry. But yeah, as for the markings, it's a beautifully marked field.
It
and
really
flat.
Is. Yeah, no, it is, and it's very good. We couldn't work out if it was slightly narrower than other fields the other week, but you look at their logo in the centre of that field, and as GM, I had all of our players coming over to me at some point during the game saying, "Can we not get a Saints one in the middle of Tilsey Park?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, you got no idea how much negotiation that would take." It's just.
Then folks start to do TikToks on it, and people get hacked off when you stand on their logo and stuff. One thing I can tell you is that they're like that in the NFL. I was down at Raymond James Stadium and they would not let you stand anywhere near the logo. We were told you'll be tackled, and I was like, all right, okay, so it is actually a proper thing over there. So,
we had a quiet word, so.
We've had rain since. Yeah, you know this. You usually get nice weather down there. A couple of times this week I've seen, it's going to be as hot as Ibiza, and I've looked to the weather and I've thought, well, London's going to be as hot as Ibiza. Aberdeen's still going to be 12 degrees. So we don't get that, unfortunately. Well, that's great to hear.
16 today, which is a good number, you know.
Oh yeah, it's quite. To be fair, it's quite nice outside. Hopefully it sticks like that. So that's really good news for your team. I'm glad you've come on. We're going to pick Play of the Week next. So again, for everybody watching, share, try and get as many people to watch the Play of the Week as possible. It's good for everybody to see. So I'm just going to share my screen first. Let me just go here. So as everybody is aware, oh, it's totally freaking out. Is that happening with you guys as well?
Yeah, that's back.
Don't know why that's happening.
No, it's gone again.
Wait a minute. It's all right. I'm going to just reboot it up. I think it's my connection. So as everyone's aware, we have unfortunately got games that aren't going ahead this week. One of them is a scumbag move, no matter which way you put it. Unfortunately, the Southland Lightning have pulled out of multiple games against Scunthorpe, but within 5 days, there's just no way to do anything about it, really. And that's the bit that's not on. It's not the fact that they've pulled out. It's bad enough, but pulling out with that many days left is poor. I did put a post on the Scunthorpe office page to say, if you've already booked the field and stuff, you should run like a flag tournament for the Jubilee weekend, or have like a community day or something like that. Just something to get people down. A lot of folks seem to think that was a good idea. So that's good. We've got postponements from the Sauce and from the Spartans. The Sauce one, I don't think I'll ever go ahead, unfortunately. I think it's Northants, the best team in that division. I just don't think that game will go ahead. But until it doesn't go ahead, I'll leave them postponed. And the Spartans against Leicester, again, don't know what the deal is with them losing their field. Kind of either they knew about it playing in advance and just didn't tell anybody, or it's basically coming to the point where they just lost the field for some reason at last minute. What's Chris saying here? Did they have refs? So I don't know actually, but I know that the refs isn't the reason for them not playing.
I think the problem with this is as well is, you know, we look at some of the teams, and obviously this increase in demands for teams getting into the league sort of happened. And you had teams like the Highland Stags, who were a very good organisation, but they were maybe like sitting at 34 instead of 35, and they weren't getting admitted into the league. And then for some completely unknown reason last year during the COVID year, teams just started getting admitted without passing that. So there was like DC Presidents, there was Southland Lightning. I think there was another team that just got admitted in without having to go through that process. And yet at the same time, the Stags didn't. And they pulled out of a game last year, they've pulled out of a game this year. And it's just like, well, you know, I think I used like the Pirates of the Caribbean thing from the first one. Like, every decision you have made has taken us from bad to worse. Like the introduction of the increased standards was good. The introduction of the red and yellow card system was good. And for some reason, we've stripped the two best decisions that have been made in the last 10 years for absolutely no reason. And as expected, chaos.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because I think every single team was like, that red yellow card system's great. And then in 2019, the amount of teams forfeiting or pulling out of games was virtually non-existent. And for some reason, they've looked at that and went, oh no, that's not a good idea, and scrapped it. And I don't get it. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. And you're ending up with situations like this, and it's just not acceptable, is it? You know? And I feel for the Alphas, because this is 2 years in a row that they've done it to them. You know, and
Did they not beat a team last year and then the week after were supposed to play the same team and pulled out? Which
don't
is
know if
absolute bonkers.
I don't know if they beat the same team as they pulled out against or what, but it was definitely they beat a team and then the week later pulled out. And it's just, yeah. I mean, I could go on about it for ages, but I'd say it was two of the best decisions with regards to the red yellow card in that and the toughening up the admissions. And I don't know why it's been destroyed, but you're literally seeing examples of why it was a bad idea now. But yeah, I mean, I feel for the Alphas. It's disappointing for them because they look like a well-run organization, and once again, they're the guys that pay the consequences because they're losing out on money.
Yeah. We've got some comments here. Northants versus Sauce will go ahead. They have a date, so that's good news. Don't want to see any games going off. They had no refs available. Again, that's a common problem this weekend, I think.
I think my only issue is a lot of these games are getting pushed down the line.
Yeah.
And I don't see how the problem gets less. Like, it's going to keep stacking up and there's going to be more and more games pushed back. And I can't see how it gets resolved that way. But it is what it is. With regards to Tom's comment, yeah, no, I agree, Tom. But like, I personally found it baffling that you had tried for a couple of years and not been successful on what seemed like minor things. And then for some unknown reason, last year they just went, meh, hack the rules, doesn't matter, admit these teams, and they're already pulling out of games. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit bonkers. Josh says here, Southeast Squadron forfeited against the Renegades at half time last weekend. I actually seen a comment about that, but totally forgot about it. That's a shame. Again, Maidstone 2.0. So I don't know why everyone's surprised.
But they're another one that gained admission during the COVID season.
Yeah, it's one of these things that's not gonna resolve itself unless someone's done about it. But the yellow card, red card system definitely needs to come back in ASAP. Yeah, beat a move for that. Feel sorry for the Alphas. Yeah, everyone's on the same page on this side of the screen. That's for sure. So hopefully that kind of things resolve themselves, but I can't see it happening in a hurry. So on to our play of the week. So we have 3 nominations. Chris is not going to like one of them, unfortunately. But 2 of them come from the same game. Honestly, I could have picked 7, 8 plays from this game when watching it, but I've went forward and picked 2. So we'll put one up, and then we'll put the one in the Saints game up, and then we'll go back to this one. So this is the Yorkshire Rams versus the Inverclyde Goliaths, and by all accounts, this was a pretty competitive game into the third quarter, which if you looked at the score, you maybe wouldn't think it was, but it looked like it. I watching the highlights, it was back and forth. But this first one is the Yorkshire Rams running back touchdown. I'm going to let this play through. Hopefully it's smooth. So this is him here. So Yorkshire obviously run a bit of a funky offense. But I'll let this play run through and we'll go back and we'll watch it, rewatch it. So hand off to the running back, couple of key blocks, finds a hole, and he's off to the races. And he's got some speed. So even manages to slow down near the end zone. Again, go back and watch this through. So there's a couple of bits here. Motion over this part here. So we've got blockers all over the place. So at the moment, this guy has engaged here, but there's 2 free blockers to get these 3 guys. This is why receiver is going to make a block as well. So at this point here, the 2 linemen come down. They grab here. This guy really should do better, but these 2 guys are blocked up by 2 monstrous offensive linemen. He's got a gap here. This guy's got a chance to make the tackle. He misses out there. Block here, and we're gone. And it's just a really solid blocking play, good run play. He's realizing where the gaps are. The whole thing is pretty spot on, and honestly, it was back and forth like this in this game. So that's play number 1. Play number 2, Chris isn't going to like. There were some cracking plays in this game as well, but this one is really good because this is a cracking read by the safety, and he comes up. So we'll let this one play. QB steps back. Receiver's there. Looks like a decent play. Safety comes and jumps in front of it. Reads the sideline, and he's gone with a host of teammates beside him. So again, this isn't a bad we have pick sixes that are like really bad throws or ones that you shouldn't be going after. But bad throw. This isn't a bad read or anything. You can see. I'll try and stop at the point here. You can see at this point here, this receiver here can win this battle. Like he can. He doesn't know this guy's coming, but he can win this battle. If he stays in front of this ball, but you can see here he goes up for it, but the safety is just more aggressive. Safety comes from behind, more aggressive, takes the ball out of his hands from a good height, and then reads the blocks, and his team block up 76 really well here because this is a big dude. So a couple of blockers there, and then that's the end of that. He's away for a monstrous pick 6. So that's play 2. Play number 3, back to the Yorkshire Rams game. Just make sure I get my times right here, is 8:21. So it should be around here. So this one here is over Clyde's touchdown this time, if it actually loads. It's being a bit of a bother. So this is Inver Clyde's touchdown this time. So QB takes the snap, keeps it himself, one good block, breaks tackle, finds the edge, and he's a goner. So again, we know this guy, and he's fast. I've known him. I've played against him once, I think, twice. He's really fast. So it's not a shame to be outrun by this guy. But there's a couple of things in this play that this is the 2-point conversion. I'll just zoom this on a bit. There's a couple of points in this play that are really good. Once again, we've got a good block on the edge here. We've got a pull-in guard here. He's going to come down and take this backer. This looks like the hole, but this guy's going to cover it. When he comes over, Bud's going to read this, and he's going to shoot this gap, which he does. This guy has a shot to make the tackle. He misses it, and once Bud gets the edge, that's good night. It's really, really solid blocking, really good running, and deserved nomination for Player of the Week. Before I go on here, like Craig's saying, passive D, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's one of these things that all 3 of these players are good. So, Chris, we'll give you first dibs. I'm going to assume that you're not going to give it to Hertfordshire. So, which play would you like to select as your play of the week?
So before I don't give it to Hertfordshire, I would say I think it was Tom Goodchild. I think it was 22 was safety. It was even better in live action, and I'm on the other sideline. I'm probably in that video screaming my head off in anger. But the high point catch that Tom puts in there and just really does read that. As a former sort of DB coach myself, that was awesome. And their entire DB call was dangerous as hell last week. But yeah, I'd never live it down if I picked it, so that's going to be that one. But I think Craig's right on the last one. I think that while it's a good move and a very quick play, I think there's a couple of elements there that could have been done. I love the first one for just the design of the play, all of the downfield blocking. I think, it's just an entire 8 or 9 guys doing exactly what they need to do and to move downfield. And I don't think O-line downfield gets enough credit. So my vote will go for the first one.
Well, I ended up getting credit last week because I didn't even pick it as a play of the week, and it got picked as play of the week with the Manchester Titans one destroying Sheffield Giants 15-20 yards down the field. Chris, which one would you choose? He's having problems with his mic. You're jumping off and on.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, he's still off.
Can you see
There you
me?
go. Yeah, I
We
can
can
hear
see
you
you
now.
and hear you now.
Oh, well, my screen's froze, so I can't see anything. I might have to leave and come back once I say my tuppence. A couple of things I love about the Hertfordshire one is obviously the jump in the route, but it's the hustle by the rest of the defence that follows. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah, I love the hustle from the defence. Kind of, you end up with a massive convoy going down the sideline, which is always good to see. Well coached, for example. We know how dangerous Bud is as a runner. He makes a couple of guys miss, gets to the edge, and he's gone. But I must admit, I'm actually with Chris on this one. I think purely from a whole team standpoint, I could sit and spend hours watching the Yorkshire Rams offense because there's a heavy Solent Thrashers vibe about them. They run sort of the triple option offense, and then they come out and spread, and you're like, wait a minute, where the hell did that come from? So in that respect, I think what I love about it is the different levels of blocking, the receivers blocking, the line getting to the second level, and then obviously the acceleration to get to the end zone. So I'm actually picking the Yorkshire Rams play as well.
Yeah, and I'm in a hard place here because I was a defensive player for a lot of years, and I moved across to offense, and I really like that interception as well. I think the height he gets up, the way he reads the play, all this kind of thing are brilliant. And then to get a block from his teammates and go, it would be a deserved winner. But I'm on the same page as you two. I think that the Yorkshire Rams play is an all-round play for the team. Well, for the offense at least. There's not really much wrong in this play at all. Everything's executed well. There's not any illegal blocking or anything. Everything's done really well. And for just him to just find that one gap, make that tackle miss, and everybody else do their assignment and just take off. Again, I think that's got to be our player week. We've got no idea who this is, unfortunately. I think it actually says here, normally on their page, yeah, like 84 Nathaniel Wise. So Nathaniel, you'll be our player of the week this week. So congratulations for that.
I actually believe he was their offensive MVP.
Oh, was he? I haven't had a chance to actually look this week, but that was a really good play. So Nathaniel, you'll be our player of the week. Our dad's right. 3 great plays. They are, honestly, I could have picked 6 or 7 from this particular game. So yeah, it's really solid. Right, game of the week. Now, Chris, would you like to reveal why there is an interesting thing in here, or would you like me to do it?
Well, I think going into the season, everyone was looking at this division and thinking it was between the Pirates and the Vikings, right? I mean, I think that was probably fair to say. They were the top 2 teams last year. And then, I don't want to say out of nowhere, because we had the COVID season, the Rams played really well. And then they came into this, we're kind of, what we're going to see from the Yorkshire Rams, and their offense has kind of really lit it up. They've put a hell of a lot of points up in all their games, bar one. So it almost looks like the top 3 teams in this division are separated from the rest. Now, what's interesting is the Northumberland Vikings played the East Kilbride Pirates and lost 17-14. The Rams played the East Kilbride Pirates and lost 17-14. Obviously, the big difference there was that the Vikings were at home and the Rams were away. But I think this is going to be 17-14 as well. I'm going with the theme that these 3 teams are going to play out a ton of 17-14 games. So I'm going to back the Yorkshire Rams to win 17-14.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Do you think of this one?
I mean, I think, yeah, largely what, following on from what I think Chris was saying, I think the Rams are one of these teams that seem to have taken the disruption of the COVID season and run with it and built on it. Whereas, like I said at the beginning, it's just really hard to decide what last year was going to actually lead to. So kudos to them on that one. And I think, yeah, they've made it a 3-horse race up there. I just don't know. I think that this weekend is going to be difficult for every team, just from a logistics point of view. How many players are going to be missing? How many people are stuck in family elements? But based on what you said about Yorkshire travelling to Kilbride and actually putting that off, I'll go with Yorkshire, but again, close 14-10 maybe.
Yeah, it's funny you should say about the knowing. I mean, I don't know anyone about the Yorkshire Rams, but I know that arguably the Vikings' best defensive back isn't there this weekend.
That's why I was wanting you to break.
So, yeah, I know he's not there. So, I mean, certainly, if I'm lining up opposite, that's great news from me to see he's not there, because he's an absolute demon on the field. He's such a good player. So knowing he's not there, that's a big loss for the Vikings for this game.
Yeah, and so I'll add to this as well, is that he's a GB DB. He's in the GB squad. He's a very, very good player, not just in coverage, but he hits you as well. So he comes down and plays in the box. And I think that's a massive loss against the Rams. Like, you could really do with a safety that comes down and trucks folk against the Rams. Again, you're right. We don't know if the Rams are missing any players because of the weekend. They have to travel. I've picked this to be like 2017 or something, but someone did pour out a decent one online and said, well, if it was both 17-14 to the Pirates, surely a draw would be right. And you know this, they could possibly be right. And if they get a draw,
home away.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Vikings
that's my thing.
Rams are away.
That's my thing. So the whole reason I'm picking the Rams is purely because it was the same score against the East Kilbride Pirates away from home, and that's a travel. And this is less of a travel probably than East Kilbride is. It's a huge game for so many reasons, but realistically, if one of these teams loses, they likely do not make the playoffs unless they run the table the rest of the way. So if one of these teams loses and takes 2 losses, they're going to have to go and avenge that loss against the team and beat East Kilbride to make the playoffs. To make the playoffs and go there, and that's tough going. These 3 teams look like they're pretty top dog at the moment. So huge game. 3 Rams picks here. A lot of both sides on the prediction contest, so should be a cracking game to see.
I must admit, I think three of us all picking the Rams. I guess it doesn't really do justice how close we all think this game is going to be. Like, although we've all picked the Rams, we're all pretty much thinking it's going to be within sort of 3 points, like that single score. So it should be a cracking game. I was actually hoping that the Vikings were streaming it, but I've not seen anything about it. But never know. Maybe they do. I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people are picking 1-score games. So we don't have anyone being Poppelhoff this week, as far as I know, unless he's willing to jump in and give us one. So we'll start going through our games this week. There are some really good games. So we'll go through them and see what we think of them. The first one is obviously a cracker. Tamworth Phoenix versus Manchester Titans, a rematch. From my point of view, Tamworth have put me in my place in the last couple of weeks. They went up to the Wolves and beat them comfortably, but the Titans have looked absolutely ruthless wherever they've went. Their defense is playing lights out. Their offense just scores for fun, and really, the only bigger advantage that Tamworth have here is it's at Tamworth. That might amp them up a little bit and give them a bit of a boost. I think if Tamworth get up early, then it makes it much more difficult for Manchester. But if Manchester score first, I think Tamworth struggle all the way. And really, both teams don't really have much to lose in this game. Manchester have potentially more to lose than Tamworth, so I'm going to go with Manchester for this one. Chris, W?
Yeah. I think Tamworth is certainly coming on now, and I think that had the early part of the year been better for them, this might end up being a bit more competitive. Well, I mean, it's going to be very competitive, don't get me wrong. I'm really excited about what Manchester looks like this year and what potential they have moving forward, and whether we're now seeing them develop into a side that will truly create this north-south between Manchester and the Warriors eventually, sort of thing. It's not a long travel. I can't see much logistically to get in the way, so I think Manchester will probably get this. Like I said, if they score, like you said, if they score early, they'll probably go outside. A few more weeks down the line, maybe Tamworth are going to prove us wrong again, but we'll see.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, this should be an interesting game. I mean, it was what 3-0 Tamworth at halftime in Manchester. It seems like Tamworth have started to find their offense, but obviously, this is the Manchester Titans. They beat them comfortably last time. They only gave up, the special teams touchdown and a field goal the whole game. It should be a really good game, as the last one was. I guess my only worry from Tamworth's point of view is, I think what was seen in the first game was the Titans failed to capitalize on their opportunities in the red zone in the first half, and then fixed that in the second. That's when they really started to pull away. I think if they come out and execute well in the red zone from the start, then obviously the game becomes a lot different then. And I think I think the Phoenix. I think the Titans win it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's play on the line here, especially in power rankings. But at the moment, we're not talking too much about the playoffs just now. But at the moment, it potentially sets up for a Manchester v Bristol Aztecs game, which I think everybody would like to see going forward. So that's an interesting one. The next one's also, this. I don't think this will be like, I think Chester will win this one, but I don't think it'll be as easy as a lot of people think it will be. They might put up a lot of points, but I'd be interested to see what Birmingham do. They put up a lot of points against Shropshire, and I just, they're at home. I think that they'll give them a good shot, and I think the Chester Romans will be too strong in the end. But I just want to see a decent game. I think this one could have points galore. And it would be good to see. I did see. I was speaking back and forward with someone this week that was saying that about they didn't reckon that the Chester Romans would beat the Cheetahs, and I think they probably would right now, but Birmingham I don't think would beat the Cheetahs, so that's something that I would think there would go in the favour of the Romans winning this game. Chris Bree.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the Bulls, we've said for years the Bulls are a Division 1 team, but they've literally been cast into the fire, right? So they went in, they've got Leicester Falcons, they've got the Chester Romans, they've got the Nottingham Caesars. Like, it's a brutal top three in that division. And they've held their own. Yeah, they were comfortably beat by Leicester, but the reality is who won't be. I think the Romans have too much for them. I think the offense is too explosive. But yeah, I mean, I think it might be tight early, and then maybe as the game goes on, the Romans start to pull away.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, not much more to add. I think I'd agree that Birmingham are doing well in a division that looked horrible on paper, and certainly are proving that they belong there, and they will be a force to be reckoned with next year. But yeah, I just can't see them overcoming the Romans in this one.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go first on this, Chris. Bournemouth Bobcats versus Rushmore Knights.
Oh dear. Right. So this one actually has a lot riding on it from a playoff perspective in our conference. I mean, I only sort of realised we were halfway through the year the other day, and I've seen the scout footage on both of these teams, and I mean, there's plus and minuses, and much more have come out really strong. Some of their work against Wales was really good. I mean, cheeky too. They do onside kicks every single kick off. They just they never punt or something like that. So they're really aggressive and really go for it. That being said, I think Cheetahs pointed out a couple of weeks ago, and I think I said to you, Sean, on a private message, I wasn't surprised that the Cheetahs found a way to beat them, and I think that there are ways for them to beat them. So. I've got a sneaky suspicion Bournemouth do the same. Maybe not quite as simply as the Cheetahs made it look. It's going to be really close, and I think both teams are going to start to feel the pressure of ourselves and Wales on their heels for these playoff spaces too. So again, very, very close game, but I think my gut says Bournemouth might just take this.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had heard this about Rushmore. Maybe they're our new Northumberland, the onside kick at every play. So Bournemouth, be warned. Don't punt, it's onside. You know it's coming. Yeah, I mean, this year's Rushmore is not the same as last year's. They started the season quite well and just fell apart towards the end of last year, whether it was lack of motivation due to the COVID season, I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, I think this should be a close game, but I fancy the Knights to bounce back. They lost a very good Hertfordshire team. I expect them to bounce back into this week.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Like, I think they last year they comfortably beat Bournemouth game 1, and then Bournemouth comfortably beat them game 2. It was like, I think it was the biggest swing of the year, was it? From one game to the other, it was the biggest swing in points differential, something like that. And since then, that basically they've both looked like they're holding their own in Division 1. They've both played decent football. Rushmore have looked a bit more impressive, but then, as you said, they go to the Cheetahs and the Cheetahs find them out. So this time they're going away from home. Bournemouth will be really up for this game. But I have picked Rushmore. I think Rushmore might edge this one, but I feel like it will be like a really close game. And it will maybe come down to one special teams play or one really big play that makes a difference. So I'm going to go for Rushmore for this one. What's this comment here? Bournemouth were in their earlier game for much of the time. Yeah, the last game was close. So I don't expect it to be any different here. It was a contender for game of the week, this one. So it'll be interesting to see. The next one, however, I don't think it's going to be close. Chris B, I'll let you go first with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Olympians are pretty much down already. I don't think that's unfair to suggest. They've been comfortably beat by the teams in their division. Bristol look like the second best team in this division. So we're finally getting a London split. And I don't see where the Olympians win the game. I think it'll be a comfortable win for the Aztecs, even if their quarterback is still out. I still think it'll be a comfortable win.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, London Olympians having their issues this year. Clearly not holding, like we said, with Birmingham and other people. And the Aztecs just look fantastic. So I think that, yeah, Aztecs all the way.
Yeah, Aztecs were apparently missing their QB last week against the Blitz, I think. And that's maybe a reason why it was a bit closer than a lot of people thought. But yeah, I think the team's will be too comfortable here. No Apache training or game, so I get to watch this one live. Yeah, Aaron, we'd love to watch it live, but they don't stream very much. But yeah, it'd be good to have
a few links knocking around the internet suggesting it's being streamed. So.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. So I hope.
For the love of God, don't click on them.
Yeah, don't click on them. It'd be good to have the whole Apache down supporting Bristol. Like I'm sure you would do that anyway, but that'd be good for them. Next game, I would say, could be interesting for a number of reasons. One, I believe that Dumfries had the Highland Stags in a bit of trouble last week until their star offensive/defensive lineman. Did he break his arm, Chris? Actually, he's in this call. I think he's in this call. I think he broke his arm, but I think they were up 8-6 at the time, and then they ended up getting thumped. Clyde Valley had their own problems. They won easily last week, but their star wide receiver broke his leg. Shout out to Scotty there. I hope you get better soon, mate. He's a really good player. So I think it is interesting. Highland have a long way to travel. Clyde Valley are physical. And we know, because we were involved last year, that these guys played out a 0-0 draw in the second game last season. They just, I was offensive coordinator again. We just couldn't find a way past their defense, and they couldn't find a way past our defense. So it's a really the Stags should win this purely because of their form and everything, but it just takes one trip away where you're missing a couple of players, and Clyde Valley will take the opportunity to beat you. So I'm going to pick the Stags here, but I don't think we'll get the 40, 50 points that the Stags have been scoring against some teams this season in this game. Chris, B?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, these are two very, very good teams, two very physical teams as well. Yeah, Chris sent me a very nice X-ray. That I'm gutted for him. Like, as I say, we're playing the Hunters next. But I don't give a shit. I'm gutted to see him get hurt. Absolutely hate to see it. Always got a lot of time for Chris, despite the fact he spent most of the time making sure that my Mondays were hell after we played them. Yeah, I mean, these two are two extremely physical teams, and we know the Hunters are physical as well, and obviously they were really competitive. We know how good the Stags are. I think if you look at it on paper, a lot of people would be expecting this to be quite a comfortable win for the Stags. And although I expect the Stags to win, I'm not entirely convinced it's going to be as comfortable as people might believe. I think the physicality of that Blackhawks might cause a few issues, but I do believe the Stags get over the line.
Yeah, Chris, what add in?
I have very little to offer in terms of knowledge of this game other than the form book, so I'm going to pick Stags just on that basis alone and what you guys have said. So.
Yeah, should be a good game though. This one, the next one.
No refs for it.
Hey,
no refs.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's the Stags. This is the Stags' 5th game of the season, and they've had no refs for 4 of them. No,
yes.
Might be their 6th game of the season, and they've had no refs for 5 of them. They've only had refs for 1 game.
Poor, isn't it? The next game here is Hereford Stampede versus Swindon Storm. Chris B, I'll let you go first because you might have to jump off after this one.
Yeah, this will probably be my last one. Yeah, I mean, Hereford have looked like probably the 2nd best team in that division, behind Northants. And, I believe they've already played. And this was one of the ones that we said, if Swindon are looking to take that step up, they need to win this game, and they didn't. No, so I expect the Stampede to win this game. I expect it to be semi-comfortable as well. I seen Tam's comment. I got told he had a stress fracture. But I messaged him this morning to see how he was doing anyway.
Well, if Tam's anything to go by, Chris, we've seen Tam rip off a cast to play, so it's maybe he's thinking. Yeah, I think here, Hereford were very close to making it into our power rankings the week they ran Northants close. They're probably better than Swindon, and I don't expect anything but a Stampede win here. Chris W.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, surprised a couple of weeks ago when Swindon actually pulled out the Northants game. I've got to say, it's not really in their repertoire, so they must be having some real number problems and real injury problems for them to push it that far. So I don't see how they do that and travel to Hereford and overturn them. I think Hereford take it in a walk. So.
Yeah. Next one's a biggie purely for the division kind of reasons. Another discussion I had this week was about these teams and how Scunthorpe weren't above Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire have only played 2 games. They've won them both pretty comfortably. The second one, they put up like 53 points on South Links, which is great. And I know Scunthorpe put up more, but they've had more games. So this one's a really interesting one because Scunthorpe have beat Humber. If Humber beat Lincolnshire, it gives me a very clear picture of the power rankings for that division. If Lincolnshire beat Humber, then yeah, it's probably going to have to be by more than Scunthorpe beat them to remain in the position they are in the power rankings. But we were surprised by Lincolnshire after last season. They just didn't look like they were there. Maybe they just had loads of players that couldn't be bothered playing last year. They've maybe recruited well. We're not quite sure. exactly what's happened, but whatever has happened, they've come out and they have comfortably won their first 2 games. These Humber Warhawks will be a different challenge. They're at home. I still think if Lincolnshire have returned to a bit of form, I think they might squeak this one by a touchdown. Chris B?
Yeah, this will be my last one. Yeah, I think it's the thing. The Lincolnshire Bombers look like they could be back to their best. And I think if that's the case, they're the better team and they win the game. Humber made a lot of improvements, and I think it could be a competitive game. But if Lincolnshire are really back to their best, I think they win comfortably.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that they're looking very strong now. So short of something diabolical happening, I think they take it with a couple of scores.
Yeah, right, Chris.
No, thanks for your time, Chris. It was good to see you again.
You too, Chris.
Best of luck for the rest of the season.
Hope the physio isn't too cruel.
Right, catch us later.
See you later. So the next game here, there's a couple of interesting ones in this division that have happened over the last while, and I know that there was a bit of back and forth going on online about Ipswich last week because everybody picked Ouse Valley. Ipswich went and won, and there was a bit of two people took it to heart. And you know this, I think on the show last week we said it was probably going to be a 1-score game. We didn't see that there was going to be much offense, and it just happened to be that way. Colchester potentially are the second best team in this division, but they took a heavy loss to Norwich last week. So this game could be really good. It set it up that way. Ouse Valley beat Colchester at home. So Ipswich are at home. They could set this one up. The other side of this is Colchester basically know now that unless someone goes terribly wrong for Norwich, they can't make the playoffs. So because of the new Division 2 alignment. So Ipswich might come out here fighting, and I have actually picked Colchester, but again, I think this one's going to be really close. I can't see either team running away with this, and I think our picks in the group have done the same. I think everybody's picked Colchester, maybe bar one person. So obviously Ipswich will take that personally, and will probably come out fighting. So, but I'm going to pick Colchester here, but it's going to be very close.
I can't imagine anybody taking the picks on here personally enough to like get offended and send you multiple messages, Sean.
Oh, you've no idea. Honestly, you've no idea. It gets really bad.
I thought I was the worst for it, but still, okay. No, it's cool. Yeah, I was just, without wishing to incur any of Ipswich's wrath, I was as surprised as you guys were last week. So I think that it's interesting what you say about Colchester and the reasons to play, as it were. And it's an amateur sport. It's a bank holiday weekend, and there's, yeah, I think just based on solely what you've just said, and I don't want to incur the Ipswich wrath, I'm going to pick Ipswich on this one because I think they've got more to play for. They're on a run of form, and if Colchester really aren't in a position where they can turn up, it's probably enough to swing it in their favour.
Yeah, I mean, like I could be totally wrong, but just if I know Britball teams that do this, and you're right. There's a lot of things that they could be doing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd beat Norwich last weekend, I guarantee they'd have been like, "Oh, let's go." But because of that, you just can't see them making the playoffs, and you just don't know. But yeah, be an interesting game. Could go either way. Next one is the same. This was in our top picks for game of the week as well. Kent Exiles versus Solent Thrashers. If you'd asked me week 3 who I thought would win this game, I'd have said Solent comfortably. But Solent have played against London twice, the Warriors twice. They've played the Blitz. They've played a fair amount of games. They've had a couple of injuries, and they're coming up against the Kent team that hasn't been that great this season, but hasn't been terrible. And they are at home. They've got fantastic facilities, I'm told. So they could have a really good, strong home support here. Now, for me, I think that knowing that the Solent squad is so big and they've got players that they can bring in, I'm going to still side with Solent here. I think Solent will win this one. but I wouldn't expect them to be putting up huge points against Kent Exiles unless Kent are doing the same to them. And Kent have showed at times that they're really good. So I'm going to pick Solent here, but again, another close one that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, torn on an emotional level here. I'm a Kentish boy myself. I've played for a Kent team way back when the Ravens were around and what have you. But equally, having a lot of experience in recent years of facing Solent and knowing how well Steve runs that organisation and just how good they are, there's no way they don't take those games against the Warriors and the Blitz and find a way to build on that and to continue that sort of momentum going in. And they would have looked at the schedule right at the beginning of the season. Okay, that's going to be hard. Like, this is where we prove ourselves. This is where we prove ourselves. And I think they turn up with players. This is not the sort of organisation that's going to be hit by a bank holiday. They're going to go in there. They're going to go in strong. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a walkover by any stretch of imagination. But I think Solent will want to make a statement now, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to do it.
Yeah, Solent's a nice neck of the woods on a sunny day. I tell you that for sure. Down the south coast a fair bit. So
if Kent are playing in Bromley, which I think they are, yeah, I probably want to stay in Solent, but
yeah,
it is what it is. So.
Yeah. The next one's I don't know how much you know about this division. So I'll kick these ones off for the next two. Nottingham have basically come out and they've already beaten DC. They've obviously got the disadvantage of the Rams are very close by, and if you've got any athletes that are really wanting to go play at a higher level, that they're obviously going to go there. However, not only have played decent football this year in the games they've played, they're coming up against DC, who are really struggling to put up any points and are conceding a lot. And this is what I call like a really good game for not only to get a confidence builder, like go in there, like put out your starters, really go after them, try your whole playbook, and see what you can do. And I think if they come out really well, I think they will beat DC quite comfortably at home. DC presence is a shame, but again, they're another team that Chris was speaking about earlier. They were brought into the league kind of under the radar rather than going through the proper process. And I know they were in the league before, and we played them years ago when they were a really good team. But again, how much is that having an impact now, halfway through the season, that they've lost all their games and some of them have been absolutely thumped? I don't know. So, but not only, I think they'll win this one pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, I've not a huge amount of knowledge about the division. I know enough about what DC have been going through in recent times not to pick them, not to be overly disrespectful to them in this regard. So I don't see how they travel and be competitive in this. And I think if Nottingham take it in the right approach, yeah, go after them, go for your playbook, then start your rotations. It's fine.
A good opportunity. After evening, Craig. I hope you're not just out your bed. Been bright and breezy today. Next one here is another one up north. So this is Lancashire Wolverines versus Glasgow Tigers. Now, it's again. Do you know much about this one?
Not a huge amount.
Well, I'll lead this one again. Then Glasgow have kind of been picking it up as the season goes on. They're still in deep trouble in terms of they are very much like at the bottom of the division. But they have been picking it up a little bit. Lancashire have shipped a lot of points. Like they always have a bit of offense, but they've shipped a lot of points this season to some of the better teams. And it's not a huge way to travel for Glasgow here. So it'd be interesting to see if the Glasgow improvement continues. If it does, then they might run Lancashire really close here. And then they look to think, oh, well, we might have a chance of staying up here and going and fighting for our place in the division. I've given the nod to Lancashire purely because they're at home. But this really is, it could be close if Glasgow have continued their improvement over the weeks.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I said about the Hertfordshire game, I mean, it's amazing how a couple of good drives can really just inspire a bit of confidence. So if Glasgow can come out, like you're saying, and start running the score and get into a shootout, then fair play to them. I mean, I see pretty much everyone on your site has said that it's Lancashire, so I'm not going to even pick one on this one. I would suggest it'll be interesting to see how Glasgow respond, I guess, based on everything you said.
But we've had guests that come on and just flip a coin in the past, so it's fine. Here we go. Clyde Valley are saying Glasgow are recruiting well throughout the season. Obviously, Clyde Valley are the same neck of the woods, so they probably know better than we do. Yeah, completely thrown off by the show being early. Yeah, I know. It's got.
Lucky I didn't turn up at 7 p.m. to be honest.
Yeah, is it 6:30 already? But no, I think if you hopefully many folk haven't been on the beers already for the Jubilee weekend. Next one here, I said it. I'll let you go first for this one. But obviously, usually a massive game. Not sure it will be this time.
No, it does seem like the split that was referenced earlier is certainly happening, and I don't necessarily think it's a case of Bristol wedging themselves in there either. I do think it seems to be a drop away in the Blitz, or a step up in the Warriors, whichever way it's just there. So I don't want to say it's boring in London. That would be really disrespectful to them, but it's just the Warriors take this and then they go for that. Yes,
yeah. Yes, you have. Yeah, we've already chatted. Versus, you can watch it back. Warriors win the game comfortably. Yeah. The only thing I will say is that I did hear rumours that the Blitz had managed to recruit some players from Wembley, who obviously started the season really strong. Don't know if that's true or not. You hear all sorts in your individual chats when we do this show, but they obviously ran Aztecs close. I think some of that was due to the Aztecs being missing their QB. So, but I think this will still be a very comfortable Warriors win.
Yeah, I heard a lot about movement in players in London last year when we found ourselves against the Hornets and Stallions, and it's a lot more prevalent down there from what
Ian's stirring the pot here. We did not.
We did not. Not one of us did. So if that's happening, that might explain Wembley. But yeah,
I believe it's a bit common down there that folk. This is something that I'll add here, because I've actually mentioned this a couple of times in different places. Is that I very much believe that BAFA should be putting out something to say, once you've played a game for a team in the season, unless it is under extreme circumstances, like you move job or something, or you move city, you shouldn't be allowed to play for another team. I think that the transfer date being halfway through the year is bonkers. It just allows that to happen. I think once you've played a game for a team, you shouldn't be allowed to play a game for another team in that season, particularly if it's in the same division. I think if it's in the same division, it should be a definite no-no. But again, it's something that is likely never to get put through. But it would stop a lot of like mid-season transfers. You'd have to go to the team of your choice at the start of the season. You'd have to practice with them, play with them, and once you played a game, that's it. Like you can't be going to another team during the season. But that's just me. I think that would be a process. It'd be easy enough to put in place.
Yeah.
And unless you had a really good reason, you don't get to shift.
Yeah, I think one game might be a bit hard. Two or three though. I think that it's. I can't remember the last time I had someone approach me late in the year to come join us anyway. Transfers always tend to happen early on. But I do remember a couple of games back in 2016, 2017 where we're playing one team in the early season from like in the South Coast, London sort of area. And then once the Olympians or Blitz were clearly not in the playoffs, all of a sudden these teams picked up more players and they started to get stronger and stronger as the competitiveness dropped away from the Prem. Yeah, so that's what they do need to get on top of.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's not the fact it's one game. It's the fact that you have basically from December to April to just choose if that's your team or not.
Yeah,
and if that's the case, you've obviously committed to them for a time. You should just stick with them. Like if they turn out to be rubbish, you should have known that well in advance, But the thing is that's tough. Like once you've committed to a team and you've chosen it, you shouldn't be allowed to jump ship. But that's just me anyway. I'm sure I'll get a few comments about this. 12 p.m. I feel sick. Have you been on the champagne? Actually, you better not have. You've got a big game tomorrow.
And we picked you as well, so please, for the love of God.
Yeah. Please don't go on the champagne. What about players who haven't played a game or registered that year but are in their old team?
That's a good point, because I've got a couple of those guys on my roster too, still. So if they suddenly rocked up somewhere.
Oh, so is this like people that haven't? Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If they have played a game, So if they haven't played a game, then fair enough, then go where you want. But once you've played a game for a team, you should commit to that team. Like if they struggle, they struggle. Like you should be trying to get them better rather than just jumping ship as soon as that happens. But that's just me. Just a Showtime, I had no idea. I missed all the good stuff. Next one here. Merseyside Nighthawks versus Sandwell Steelers. Merseyside have had their issues this season, but not as bad as Sandwell. Sandwell have now not got a head coach again. I think that's their third one they've went through since COVID, which is never a good sign. I know, like, obviously they'll be wanting to try and implement something new and build back up, and they're going to obviously go down this year to Division 1 again. So I think that I think they've still got stuff to prove, though. Like there'll be players in there that will still want to play really well and go out and prove themselves. And the Nighthawks are at home; they won't want to they won't want to allow many points up to Sandwell. So I think it should still be a pretty comfortable win for Merseyside. But I'd expect Sandwell to come out fighting here.
Yeah, it's all how they respond to that coaching situation, really, isn't it? I think that these come out fighting or you're defeated. But I think on the other side of the fence, you've got Merseyside, who will be desperate to prove a little bit in the region now with everything that's been happening with Manchester and what have you. So I think that, yeah, I think Merseyside might actually just take them to town and almost punish them in a weird sort of way. So yeah, I'll pick Merseyside on this one.
Yeah, it might be another game where I was talking about earlier, where Merseyside come out and they want to get a bit of confidence for the second half of the season and come out and put up plenty of points. So we'll see that one. Next one here, I've just got a comment here. Players should be allowed to transfer up a division at any point in the season, but shouldn't be allowed to transfer down or in the same division.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I know, but again, so Bath are asking for 35 players to be on your roster at the start, right? And that's so you can compete. So if you've got 36 players on your roster, but halfway through the season, some of them want to go and play at a higher level, you then leave your team with less players than the minimum and then struggle to maybe complete the season. And I don't think that's right. I think if you want to go play a higher division, do it in the off season, go join a higher team. But that's just me. Like, I'm a bit of a competitor like that. So this next game here, Norwich Devils claimed back the #1 spot in our power rankings this week. Do you see this one being anything different?
No, I think they take it. I mean, I was, like we said on the Ipswich game, surprised that Ouse didn't actually perform a bit better in that one, but I've no news value yields on and off in various forms. But I think Norwich just want this one home.
Yeah, Ouse Valley clearly have a good enough D because they just don't give up many points. Like, even when they lose, they don't give up many points. And let's say they shut out Colchester first game of the season. So they obviously have that part to their game, but they just don't seem to have an offense. And Norwich do, clearly. They've put up points away from home, they've put up points at home. And we picked them early as potential winners of Division 2. They've proven that they've got a really solid team. And they're in a tougher division than Northants are. They have a tougher division. So they're proving everybody that they are a team to beat. And I think they'll go out and beat Ouse Valley here. No problem at all. Next one, I'm going to let you go first on again here. Let's see. Tape of this game was close first time around, but I feel Norwich. Yeah, I'd say I think Ouse Valley just have decent defense. They just haven't given up many points. So be interesting to see. Portsmouth Dreadnoughts, Hertfordshire Cheetahs. I'll let you go first on this one, Chris. Who you got?
Okay, so let me preface everything I'm about to say on this one. It's a Portsmouth are a class organisation. They're great hosts. They're very fun to play. They're brilliant after the game. That being said, they've got one or two playmakers. They've got a DB. I think on one of the runs that we scored against them, they've got a DB number 15 who was on the other side of the field and nearly chased down Tommy. And just, I've never seen a pursuit angle executed so brilliantly and so quickly. If he had an extra yard, he would have caught him. And they've got a receiver in number 2 who scored the touchdown against us. Who, if he gets the ball behind, sort of just in the second phase, he will be off and you will not catch him. That being said, the Cheetahs defense is, I was about to say brutal. They're just so well managed and so well coached. And that DB, if Portsmouth try and pass beyond 10 yards, is going back. If So they're going to have to either pass short or they're going to have to run, and I can't see them running through that line very well. I think as soon as the Cheetahs work out what weapons Portsmouth have or have not this weekend, after the first quarter, I can see Cheetahs putting away on this one. They have good players. They're a fun team, they're a good team, but the Cheetahs are the best in our division, and they're gonna, if as long as they travel well, they'll be fine.
Yeah, you're right about the players. We actually pointed them out in that game of the week, that play of the week when Tommy won it. There was the wee boy in the yellow helmet. I think it's the guy you're talking about. Absolutely rapid, and they do have a receiver that's really fast. Hertz obviously have a really good secondary. Portsmouth is also a lovely place to go when it's a sunny day. I know this because I'm going on holiday there in September, so it's a lovely place on a sunny day. So I'm hoping that they have a team. Do they play football behind the pier?
No, they a couple of years ago they were moving around a little bit, and they were on a 4D. Then they ended up at this really nice rugby club where you could see the Spinnaker Tower, and it was really good. Now they're in a different one, which is Portsmouth Rugby Club, which I will say, actually, looking at the weather forecast, looks like heavy rain on Sunday.
Oh.
And when we turned up, pitchforks are out, so it's a south coast shingle underlay, so it takes a while for water to drain away. So it might not be the nicest conditions in the world, but I don't see that changing matters at all, sort of thing. I think unless Portsmouth has suddenly got a better QB, it's going to be very one-sided.
Yeah, I'm picking Hertfordshire as well. I think they'll comfortably win this one. Just go through some comments here again. We've got here. We have a few injury concerns. One of our O-line broke 3 ribs last Sunday. Oof. And didn't realise until afterwards. Yeah, that's O-lineman for you. Just keep going to the.
If you only have realised during the game, we might get another score.
Yeah. Oh no. Do Portsmouth Warriors still? No, it's Portsmouth Dreadnoughts, and then there's the Portsmouth. What's the Portsmouth Raptors? I think they're no. What's their what's their uni team? Destroyers. I'm pretty sure they've got a uni team.
Yeah, I don't know. They have a lot of. They did have a lot of Bournemouth uni players playing for them the other week. But yeah.
Yeah, gone since the mid-90s. Yeah, it's very heavy rain apparently. Save the nice weather for September. I want to come down there and enjoy my time on holiday.
The heavy rain, I think,
I was right.
It's just right. I think the heavy rain will just play into the depth chart that the Cheetahs have over them too. I think that if everyone's forced onto the ground, then they'll just keep it. Having seen both sidelines, I just think that's what happens.
Yeah, I would agree. This next one has a lot of people interested, and I think it's purely because of the score that Tamworth put on Edinburgh. I think Edinburgh looked really strong going through this season, and then they come up against one of the top tier Prem teams, and like it wasn't a blowout; it was still a decent game, but they did struggle a lot more than I thought they would. I believe they were missing potentially their best defensive player against Tamworth, which doesn't help. If he's back, and I know him fairly well, he's an unbelievable linebacker, both in coverage and against the run. If he's back, then it helps the Wolves. They've got to travel to the Giants. The Giants will be very much up for winning this one. They will be at home after getting slaughtered by Manchester. They will not want that to happen. If the Wolves are traveling full strength, then I think the Wolves take this one. And I have picked the Wolves, but if they're not full strength, then the Giants could very easily take this one.
Yeah, I've written on my notes here, travel ? Basically on this one. I think that if how demoralising will the Manchester result be on the Giants? Hopefully enough that they can keep their head, not enough that they can keep their heads. If the Wolves travel, I don't think, like you said, I think the Tamworth game might just seek to inspire the Wolves a bit in a weird sort of way. So it's really how they react. So I pick the Wolves on this one, but again, how well will they travel down? So
yeah, well, the Wolves are used to traveling, so hopefully it doesn't affect them too much. Another one that start of season would have been really interesting, but I'm not sure will be. What do you think about this one, Chris?
Yeah, I try to get excited about this one. I think I've just sort of, it's a bit of a flip of the coin one on this one, and it came up with the Caesars, but I couldn't really tell you why outside of it was a heavily weighted coin on that time. It'd be interesting to see if it beats my expectations, but other than that, I have to say it was a flip of a coin for me.
No refs in this one. Shropshire have struggled all season. Nottingham seem to have got stronger as the season's went on. They've got some decent players. I think they have the pick of 3 QBs at the moment. I'm sure when I was speaking to Grant, he had basically they're saying that the last game they played was a guy that's just started on the roster and he had some unreal plays. So I think Nottingham are going to be too strong here. I think they'll put up a decent amount of points as well. If they put up plenty of points in the first half, rotation, I think they've been getting some of their younger or rookie players and less experienced players more reps. So that's only going to help them down the line. I think their roster is massive. So Nottingham for me all the way.
Yeah. I've got to say on that ref situation, that one surprises me. Leicester aren't playing. It's heavily populated area of the country. It's not like you're asking to try and find refs for the Stags or the Cornish Monarchs or what have you. That's probably just goes to demonstrate what we've been saying for 7 or 8 weeks. Yeah. It's a crazy situation, isn't it?
It's actually an interesting point you bring up there, though. I wonder if Nottingham have thought, oh, well, maybe we'll try the refs from the Leicester game, because they were supposed to have refs as far as I'm aware. So maybe something to look into, Nottingham, Shropshire. This one. So, on you go. You carry on.
Sorry to cut you off. So we've got a youth tournament tomorrow, and I found out through BAFRA that we're only getting enough, because two games run side by side. We're only getting enough refs to cover one of them. They told BAFRA apparently last week. BAFRA still haven't told me. So I now know, just because I asked BAFRA, are we good? Sort of thing. So it's not just the ref numbers that are here tonight, it's the communication that's coming down the pike on it as well. So, like I said, beating a dead horse on this one, really, aren't we? It's just
and you know this. I believe that there's been a chat going about this week, and this is something interesting. If you ask somebody else that I'll not name on the show, he believes that refs are paid too much and that it's BAFRA's fault, which is ridiculous. I mean, the thing is we all know why this situation's happened, and we're not going to keep going over it, but it is not BAFRA's fault. Like, that's absolutely absurd. And paying the refs more money, I mean, if you pay people to come down and help, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If they want more to come travel, like I know our Scottish refs have to travel a lot, but don't, as far as I'm aware, don't ask for anything extra. There's nothing wrong with them asking for extra for traveling. But again, this isn't BAFRA's fault. This is well beyond that. Next game here, Somerset Wyverns versus Torbay. Can only see this going one way.
Yeah,
Torbay have struggled all season. They've been getting thumped all season, and Somerset are probably the second best team in this division. They have been building over the years, but I think they've kind of now hit a point where they've got better, but they're not going to get near Bristol at the moment. And if they want to get near Bristol, they're going to have to then continue that recruitment and improvement going forward. So Somerset should win this one comfortably.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Torbay only ever seem to are able to get momentum when Cornwall aren't like taking players across the peninsula in order to do them. As soon as when Cornwall have their act together, then Torbay seem to struggle. It'll be interesting to see how Bristol handle playoffs and promotion, assuming they're offered it, and whether they take it and how that impacts Somerset next year. But yeah, they're number 2 and they'll beat them easily.
So. Yeah. Next game here is East Kilbride versus Inverclyde. Now, as said in the film, Inverclyde were competitive against the Yorkshire Rams. Like, the score ended up being massive in the end, but they were competitive at least into the third quarter. They managed to run the ball on the Rams. I don't see them doing that against EKP. This defense is aggressive at the front and aggressive at the back. You get very little opportunity to tear them to bits. And East Kilbride's at home. Inverclyde are coming off a tough game against the Rams. I think this is going to be a comfortable win for East Kilbride. It'll be interesting to see if they rotate players through here.
Yeah, comfortable score, high scoring. It's just, I think, yeah, like I said, just how EKP decide to handle it as to how big it gets. I would suggest.
Yeah. This last one, let you go first on this one because this is a biggie.
Yeah. I don't know what. One of these teams is a team we played last year, and one of these teams isn't, quite clearly. It's the Hornets are still a hard-hitting, defensive-minded team who are really strong and do the best they can with the low numbers that they have because there's so many teams around them. Everything I've seen in the standings this year, they don't appear to be the same team that we played last year. And I don't know whether it's because it was COVID and different people within London were moving around because of it and taking different structures. But I kind of, it's probably tempting fate. I kind of wish we were playing them this year rather than last year. I just don't see, from what I've seen on film with the Stallions, that they've got anything to get through the Hornets enough in order, and the Hornets will eventually score on them. So it might end up being a low scorer, but I still think the Hornets are going to take it quite well, not comfortably, but the Hornets win.
Well, what's interesting here is 3 weeks in, Wembley Stallion, 0 points conceded, 3-0, right? Then all of a sudden, they played the Cats really close, and then all of a sudden they get thumped by the Spartans. Now, the Spartans got thumped by the Cats last week. So how do you go from an 18-14 away loss against the Cats to then getting thumped by the Spartans, who then got thumped by the Cats? We got, like, honestly, Britball boggles my mind at times, but I can only assume that the rumours about players leaving Wembley may be correct. But I can't understand it. Why would you leave them? They're 3-0. They've not given up any points. Why would you, even if you're going to a higher division, why would you leave them? They're in prime position to potentially challenge for Division 1.
And they're a very good run organisation. You turn up in their ground, and they're very well organised. Warren's got a really good, Warren and Jackie have a really good handle on how the team runs with the under-19s and everything feeding in. So an exodus has clearly happened, but yeah, I can tell you why it would.
It's interesting. I know they've got a young lad that plays in their youth or junior team, QB, that looks like an absolute athlete. And if he's coming through the ranks, you'd like to think he'd stay as well. But the Hornets on the other side have a running back that's a load. Like, he's fast, he's fast, he's big, physical. But outside of that, they've not, like, from what I've seen on highlights, they've not got a huge amount to give. So if Wembley figure out a way to stop their big running back, do they then make it a game? And then you just don't know. Their QB at Wembley looked really accurate. He looked, the first 3 games of the season, all his passes were really good. I don't know. I've picked the Hornets for this one. If the Hornets win this one, Wembley season's pretty much over. But Wembley could quite easily upset them here and ruin their perfect record, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to a pretty good game. There we go. We've got spam, Chris. We've done well this morning. 5 followers, pound of viewers. Don't click on it, folks. So that's our games for the week. We've postponed one: Scunthorpe Alphas, Southland Lightning, the Sauce versus Northampton, Hull and Spartan versus Leicester. Unfortunately, they're all postponed games. As normal, Game Day Live. Any of your results, pop the hashtag on them so that we can pick them up. But also, if you're wanting to come on the show, then you need to just pop them a message. If you're down at a game and you want to film some Red Zone, they have been doing that, where they'll get you into the stream. You can do some plays for them, maybe live touchdowns, and then it'll continue to grow the sport in the UK. Outside of that, thanks very much for joining us this morning, Chris.
No problem.
It's an unusual time for us, but thought it'd be nice to, hopefully everybody's either still in their bed or they're watching some TV, getting ready to go on the lash for the weekend. So the ones that are playing, please don't. Enjoy yourselves moderately. And I hope everybody has
Manchester Titan. We put a lot on you guys this weekend.
Yeah. But other than that, thank you very much for coming on, Chris. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, folks.